Good evening. Welcome to the April 25th Appointment Subcommittee. Please rise to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of the members. Councillor Keefe.
Here.
Here. Councillor McKenna.
Here.
Here. Councillor Rizzo is absent. Councillor Serino is absent. Council President Visconti.
Here.
Here. And Chairman Cogliandro.
Here.
Here. We have several appointments today. First one on tonight's agenda is a communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Stephen F. Riordan to the Election Commission.
There we are. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Appointment Subcommittee. Just want to, first of all, say that I'm very happy to be appointed and pleased to be appointed to this really, I think, essential position in government these days. You don't have to be a casual observer, which I'm certainly not, of the fact that our voting rights are now more than ever coming under great challenges in this country. And I'm very happy, I would be very happy, to be able to protect those rights and, in fact, enhance those rights in our small area of the world. So I'm looking forward to this appointment, if you would consider it.
Thank you very much. Any comments from the Councillor Keefe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you probably are all aware, I think we're all very, we know former Councillor Riordan very well. He happened to be my city councillor and now has moved over to, I believe, Joanne McKenna's section of the neighborhood. But he always represented the city very well. I'm certain that he and how important that is to the city. So I will absolutely be in favor of his appointment. Thank you.
Councillor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Stephen, I've known you for a long time and worked with you, and I'm glad you're back. And I think it's a great fit. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
President Visconti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to congratulate Stephen on this appointment. I will be in favor of this as well. He's, like Councilor Keefe said, he's represented the city as a city councilor. He's been a lifelong resident, I believe, as well as an attorney that does business here in the city. I think it's a very good appointment, and I will be in favor. So congratulations, Stephen.
Thank you, Council President.
Good to have you back.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I can't think of a better appointment to this position. Steve, as everybody mentioned, he's counselor before, excellent attorney. There's a lot of pro bono work, not for everybody, but for our organizations that we have in the city, and we thank him for that. And I think he'll treat everybody very fairly and very professionally. So I look forward to working with him during election seasons. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you, Councilor.
Any other comments? Councillor Rizzo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My apologies for getting here a little bit late, but I just wanted to obviously weigh in. One of my former colleagues here, we served together, not only served here on the council, but we've served throughout pretty much our business lives, I think, going back 25, 30 years when you were very involved with the business community here, served as president of the Chamber of Commerce for a couple of years, and, you know, we're able to do a lot of good things for the business community. So good to have you back in yet another capacity here in the city, Steve. Welcome back.
Thank you, Council. It seems like just yesterday.
It does seem like just yesterday, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Steve, congratulations and welcome back. Great appointment.
Thank you, Mark.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So voted.
Thank you again. And good luck to the rest of the applicants today.
Next appointment is Deborah Frank to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board of Trustees.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Deborah Frank. I'm the Vice President of Mortgage Business Development with Metro Credit Union, who I understand our CEO, Robert Cashman, has spent a great deal of time promoting affordable mortgage products and our new 40-year mortgage. I have spent my entire 30 years in the industry promoting affordable housing, from training all of my loan originators when I was a manager in using grant programs, to trying to find those grant programs, to try to assist low to moderate income borrowers be able to find housing opportunities. As you're all painfully aware, housing in the state of Massachusetts is a little bit pricey. So I look forward to hopefully being able to bring my skill, my expertise, and my passion to the Affordable Trust Board for the City of Revere.
Thank you very much. Any comments? Council President Visconti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would say I'm glad to see that the mayor has appointed a loan originator who has managed loan originators in the business and in the mortgage business. As a fellow mortgage business owner, company owner, I'm glad to see that somebody is on that board, or will be on that board, hopefully, that is in that business. So it's great to see this, and the fact that you've worked with different grants and different programs just enhances the need for somebody like yourself on that board. So I will be in favor of this. Thank you.
Council Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Frank, good evening and welcome.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, going through all of the people in front of us this evening, the resumes really speak for themselves. I mean, each appointee has a really diverse background with tons of experience, and I'm excited to see them join all of these boards. Yourself included, I'll be in support. This Affordable Housing Trust Fund that has somewhat just been created, it hasn't really grabbed legs yet, and I think that you jumping on and a few others will help. And I just wanted to see, just say that with all of these boards, especially this one that I think is going to be really important for the residents of Revere, is trying to see what types of resources, not just with funding from internal, but exterior sources, but also avenues, like you mentioned, to get people, low, moderate income residents of the city, more help in getting the right resources from the banking industry or the housing industry so that they can get and purchase properties. We want to see those avenues really get pushed out there. And I think that obviously with your background, that'll be very, very helpful. So I'd love to see that energy behind it. And I won't speak probably on every candidate tonight, but I did want to say that I'm very impressed with the group in front of us, and thank you.
Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Next
you.
appointment is the appointment of Molly Mcgee to the Human Rights Commission.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Molly Mcgee, and I'm very pleased to be before you. I'm honored and excited at the thought of giving back to Revere. I live here and I operate my small business, I guess you could call it. I'm a solo criminal defense and immigration attorney, and I'm looking forward to everything that I think it presents itself on the Human Rights Committee, and all the new things that are to come. I really am enthusiastic about the involvement from different community members and being a part of that and giving back to Revere.
Councilor McKenna.
Molly, thank you. I was looking over your resume. It's very impressive. Your work experience is very impressive. And so I will be voting on this tonight in favor.
Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed?
Aye.
So ordered.
Thank you.
Next appointment on the agenda is the appointment of Sumaya Atelhaj to the Cultural Council.
She's cute.
Great. Thank you so much. I wanted to thank the mayor for this opportunity, and thank you for considering me to the Cultural Council. I grew up in Riviera. I'm originally from Morocco, a village in Morocco, in the south of Morocco, in that belonging to an indigenous person, indigenous North African, has really inspired me to see things differently, and I am in awe with the potential of Riviera, considering its diversity, its rich history. I can't wait to contribute with my experience and my educational background. I did theater in college. I went and did religion and human rights. And I also worked in the library, so I got to see the people of Riviera, and just how much, just the faces of Riviera. And that's really important for me, to bring in that lens of its rich history, but also the fusion of what the city's morphing into, through celebrating different cultures, with a focus on also bringing other lesser heard voices, including indigenous voices. So thank you.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is it Sumaya?
Yes.
Sumaya, your education background is so impressive.
Thank you.
Harvard University, Tufts University, Boston College. Very impressive. Thank you.
Thank you
You'll
so
be an
much.
asset to the city.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Next up is the appointment of Chloe Marie Teresa Gladue to the Cultural Council.
Hi, my name is Chloe Gladue. I'm excited to be in front of you today, to be hopefully a part of the Cultural Council. I'm excited to learn more about Riviere's rich history and showcase that with many events in this city.
Any comments from the committee? Ms. McKenna, excuse me, Councilor McKenna?
Thank you. You can call me Miss McKenna. I was his teacher. Chloe, I just want to say that I went to Fitchburg State, too, and got my master's at Fitchburg State, so we're alumni.
Well, it's great to meet you.
That's all. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be a part of it.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
And last but not least, the appointment of Samantha Harrington to the Cultural Council.
Hi, so for those who don't know me, my name is Samantha Harrington, and I'm really excited for this opportunity to hopefully be a part of the council. I'm a lifelong resident of Revere. I attended Revere schools my whole life, and I've had the really wonderful opportunity of being able to watch the city grow and diversify, and I would like to be able to take the opportunity to help make it a more inclusive place as well. So I think that being able to have this opportunity to be a part of the committee would be really wonderful, because I think it would be wonderful to have more fresh perspectives added to the group. I just graduated college this past May, and so far in my experiences, I've been able to really build my toolkit for really coming up with ways to advocate and celebrate diverse groups in my communities. So a couple examples that I've had so far in my experience, particularly in colleges. I was a member of the Diverse Student Union at my college, and I also was able to receive a Posse Scholarship, in which I was selected for my diverse background and my ability to help advocate and create consensus solutions for complex problems in the community. And I think that this would be a really wonderful opportunity to be able to actually be able to act out some of those skills that I've cultivated and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Harrington, thank you for being here today, and congratulations. I want to say this on for yourself and for Ms. Stevens that's coming up. It's really exciting to see, Revere product, do the full loop. You got a posse scholarship, which is not an easy feat. It's very, very difficult. You went halfway across the country, right, to Kentucky?
Yes.
That's scary. You're
Very
leaving
scary.
a city like Revere and going to across the country to Kentucky, not really probably knowing much around that area. I'm sure you fit in very well, and you're starting to make your way back here, so we're excited to see that. Whenever we see students, we talk about this at graduation every year because Revere sends some of its students to the best colleges and institutions in the world. We always wish and hope that they'll come back and set roots back in here and contribute back to the community. So I'm glad you're doing that, and hopefully you'll continue to keep those roots and dig in deeper and help out and work with the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered. Thank you.
And last appointment is the appointment of Lonnie Stevens to the Cultural Council.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be here in front of you today. I'm really excited to be hopefully a part of the Cultural Committee. So I'm really excited particularly. I'm a teacher in Revere, so I really would like to elevate, advocate, and just celebrate the diversity of the youth at this point. So I think that it's really important, particularly because as Councilor O'Keefe was saying, I am from Revere. I've been a lifelong resident, and I understand the importance of bringing that youth back to the community, right? So having those members in the long term that really do understand the city.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered. That concludes the appointment subcommittee.
The April 25th meeting of the Ways and Means Subcommittee will come to order. Will all please rise and salute the flag? Madam Clerk, we call the roll?
Roll call of the members. Counselor Keefe.
Here?
Here. Counselor Fiore is absent. Counselor Novoselsky is absent. Counselor Sereno is absent. Counselor Visconti.
Here.
Here. And Chairman Rizzo.
Here.
Here. A quorum is present. First item on the agenda this evening is an ordinance amending water meter rates of the revised ordinances of the City of Revere.
Thank you. Just a little background. We've had several meetings on this. I haven't been part of all of them, but this has been a topic of discussion for some time. I have tried to work since our last meeting with Mr. Visquet, our city CFO. We really haven't made too much headway in terms of defraying the costs. I've got some thoughts that I shared with him. We'll see if he has any feedback here this evening. I actually have some other thoughts that I wanted to present myself tonight to see how we might be able to proceed with this. But in the meantime, what I'd like to do first is call upon any of the members who would like to be heard once again on this, and see if they have any thoughts as to how they would like to proceed, and how at the end of it all that we're going to wind up paying for all of this, and who's going to be paying to support the properties in question that are looking to change from commercial back to residential. So are there any councilors wishing to be heard? Yes, President Visconti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to reiterate what I've said in the past, and I think it's my major concern with making these adjustments without really knowing what the numbers and how it's going to affect the single families and the other multifamily properties that is going to get affected by this. I have a major concern with helping one particular group and having that affect another group. That's my major concern. And I'm not sure, maybe Mr. Visquet can shed some light on it, but I am reluctant, I would be reluctant to vote on this, not knowing that we have come up with an equitable solution for everybody. And that's just my opinion. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you. I don't know if it's possible, but I'll deal with two aspects of my commentary. One will be the legal and then the equitable part, which I believe Councilor Visconti is speaking to. Currently, there are thousands of properties within the city, or shall I say units within the city, in which they pay for their water. So that means there are 1,000 voters, well over 1,000 voters that pay for their water and sewer as part of their apartment agreement. And they're getting no relief. That, to me, is not equitable. And that's part of our job here, is to be equitable so that everybody across the board is treated fairly. In a litigious society, I wonder if there's some way someone would be able to argue in court that they are being treated unfairly as someone who lives in an apartment versus someone who owns a property, and they are being charged differently for a product that is sold to the city through a provider. So that's something that an attorney had brought to my attention. I don't know whether it's possible or not, but what I do know is this, is that it is pretty I would say, unkind to treat one group of people in a different manner instead of, the same with the others. And I go back to the echoing of my past comments of a tiered water system as they have in Malden and in other communities. So you basically get charged for what you use. If you don't use a lot, like most seniors in Malden, to pick out a particular city, they don't pay as much. Whereas if you have, 10 people in your dwelling, in your house, you pay more because you use more water. So I believe a tiered system, if we're going to change the rule, should probably be the best thing. For me, I will be voting no on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councilors wishing to be heard before we ask Mr. Viskey to come before the council? Mr. Viskey, would you mind if we just discuss this issue a little more? I appreciate you being here, first of all. Secondly, I'm just referring back to an email you and I had an exchange trying to figure out how we can work our way through this so that, we can help the people who are looking for relief, but also, make it so that, the people who live in the 1 and 2 families and 3 families don't wind up having to bear that burden. So I know you're in the middle of the budget, and we're trying, and, one of the questions I think we all had was, how much is this going to cost each ratepayer? And we haven't been able to come up with a number that would be something that we could put our arms around and say, well, if we do this, this is going to be the ramification. As Council President Visconti had said, there's going to be a cause and effect here. It's going to be, one person is going to get a reduction, another person is going to get an increase. And like Councilor Rotundo said, it does not seem, fair that one group is going to pay more so another group can receive a benefit. It's a very difficult vote for any member of the City Council to vote on. Actually, Councilor Silvestri had asked a question last meeting about, can we defer this over to commercial ratepayers, which I thought could be something we could think about. But as the more I thought about it, and I don't know what my colleagues feel, but I feel as though the commercial ratepayers are already in the group. This is the group they're trying to defect from. So we're going to further burden the other commercial ratepayers even more so. We're already paying higher taxes, already paying higher water. The advantage to them is that they can take this as a deduction, where the 1 and 2 family, 3 family homeowners cannot take water and sewer as a deduction. And for many people, those bills are approaching what their property taxes are, which 20 years ago, nobody could have foreseen this. So a couple of ideas that I had, and I'll throw this out there, and this would have to be, I guess, for some administration buy-in. Tonight, as the second part of our meeting, we're going to talk about, the American Rescue Plan and some money that the city's going to be getting, a significant chunk of money. Also, we're going to be talking about the certification of some water sewer free cash. What I would, this could be a circumstance that I might be able to support, is that if the administration, because we can't spend, we can only cut. So, but if they'd be willing, if you could come up with a number this is going to cost for them to get the benefit, and maybe have a 1-year provision at least to get it started for them, so we could figure this thing out, whether it be a 3rd tier of rates or whatever we do. But if we come up with the number, this is what it's going to cost, then maybe take it out of the free cash that everybody participated in, the water sewer free cash, commercial and personal ratepayers, and then have it sunset after 1 year maybe, and then we have a year to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to continue with this, or are we going to set up a 3rd tier or something like that? I mean, that might be something that I could entertain, where everybody is now part of it and not just us versus them, because right now that's basically what it is. That's how I feel. So I'll open it up to you, Mr. Viskey, and I know colleagues will may have questions. You had indicated, here that, this might not be something that we come up with something immediately tonight. I mean, just on those recommendations that I just presented, I'm sure that's going to have to be run by the mayor, and you and him would have to talk about it and see if this is something. But quite honestly, I think it would be good, instead of just the council making this vote and saying, hey, this is what we're doing, get some administration buy-in as well. So we're all bought into this together. So I don't know. I'm gonna open it up to you, Mr. Viskey, and see what you think.
Sure. Thank you. Rich Viskey, CFO, 281 Broadway. We've run some what-if scenarios based upon requests that we have, and to do an owner-occupied four-family, I believe our delta was about $140,000. And then we looked at all of the 4 families, 5 family, and 6 families, and just, again, these are rough numbers, but, it would cost about $240,000 to have residential rates for all 4 families, another $52,000 or so if you include the 5 families, and then $225,000, say, for 6 families. So that's about $520,000 worth of lost revenue if we went from a commercial rate to a residential rate. So the best way I thought I can explain it is just to go based upon a $30 million budget, which is around what the budget's going to be for water and sewer. That's how much we're going to need to carry operations. So 1% is $300,000. So if we make a decision that $300,000 worth of rates are reduced for a certain classification of houses, then everybody's rate will have to go up 1%. Now, whether that's commercial, residential, or both, I mean, we can run a lot of what-if scenarios. So for me, to speak a little more logically to the council and to the mayor, it makes more sense for me to have a complete budget, go through, vet it through, and the budget that will be presented to the council will also have a recommended rate increase. I think at that time, we can start doing more what-if scenarios that are a little more realistic, as far as, if we're going to call out 1 and 2 families, that's going to require a lot of data work and figuring that out, making sure 5 units, 6 units, 4 units, whether they're owner-occupied or not. There's a vetting process. We try to run numbers just to have some logical discussion here. So, that's really the crux of how I think it would work. I mean, every $300,000 would require a 1% rate increase overall. Now, how that's spread out, that would be a subject to debate. But that's kind of the way I thought would be easiest to describe it to everybody, so.
But that would be just, one moment, Counselor, now, right now, you're talking about a $30 million MWRA assessment?
I'm just talking about the entire amount of money that needs to be raised to run the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund.
Okay, and that includes the $2.5 million increase that this year that you're talking about right now,
Approximately, right? Yes. Again, I haven't vetted through and made all final cuts and recommendations, but just to keep the math simple, I figured $30 million and $300,000 is 1% of that. So if you think in terms of that, if it's $600,000, it's 2%.
Well, it's probably closer to 2% then.
Right, the $520,000 is probably, 1.7% if you want to get technical. And then how we make up the 1.7%, I hear Councilor Silvestri suggest maybe it's all commercial. Okay, we can run that. They would absorb all 100% of that, and how that affects their particular rate, I'd have to do some math. How it would affect the residential rate versus commercial rate, we'd have to do the math.
Or potentially come up with a third tier that maybe is somewhere in between, so not everyone's getting a 1.7% increase. Some will get, they'll get a reduction, but it might not be the full reduction to residential, but they won't be hit as hard on either side, the commercial and the,
There's a multitude of scenarios, and Councilor Rotundo said, and it is common in other cities, that you use up to X amount of gallons, it's one rate, then you go to another tier, it's another rate, you go to another tier, that's another rate, and basically that would, whoever uses the most water would pay more, and, I don't know if that's fair or not, incrementally going up on rates. Again, I'm not here to tell one way or another it's the best. I can just try to give you the best answers on the questions you have in the what-if scenarios. So, my suggestion was maybe to have this conversation, keep talking about it, hopefully by
Wait
the
until
time.
the budget's solidified.
Yeah, and then I think we
then-
can have a little more concrete numbers in what-if scenarios. I just hate to run too many what-if scenarios when we don't even have the real 2022 numbers in front of us, 2023 numbers in front of us. But I will say, just to make sure everybody knows, the administration has put $2 million a year in the last 3 years to keep these rates, I won't call them low, but as low as possible. So we have been contributing money 2 years in a row. We did it from retained earnings, and then when we didn't have enough retained earnings last year, we used water and sewer stabilization. So we definitely are aware and want to do our best to try to stabilize rates as best we could, but most of the rates are driven by fixed costs, as you know. So we're trying our best, trying to make sure there's no water leaks on the ground, make sure we got all accountable water, and do everything we could to at least charge, the appropriate amount and not, be paying 20% of the water running on the ground somewhere because there's a leak or such. So we are doing our best to try to keep these rates as contained as possible, but it's tough.
Understood. So before I go to, okay, well, Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chairman, so what you're elaborating on is basically operations cost versus use, because obviously you've got the product and then you've got the people that help maintain the product, if I'm not mistaken, in order to come up with the budget, because we get charged X from the MWRA for water itself. The budget part is a total different set aside, and in fact, that's a cost that we build into it.
Yeah, the water and sewer assessments are part of that 30 million,
Right.
and the debt service. Those three, the debt service, the water and sewer, is about 70% of the budget.
I would refer to, www.mass.gov guide water pricing, and they speak specifically on using a tiered system because of the incentivizing of conservation, and also the fact that it is more efficient and more cost-effective in helping our seniors. And so it's something that the state uses as a guideline. Perhaps we could look at it ourselves. Thank you.
Certainly.
Thank you. Any other councilors? I think, I don't know if anyone would agree, disagree, but I think as we're coming into budget season right now, that we, not that you want to keep, but, this is an important vote. We're talking about an awful lot of money. We're talking about impacts on every person in this community. I think we take the CFO's recommendation and we'll discuss it once the budget's been solidified, and we'll come back and figure out the right way to go about this. Everyone in agreement? Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Viscay.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Calendar item number 2.
Calendar item number 2 on tonight's agenda is communication from the city auditor relative to the ARPA fund grant summary.
Mr. Viscay.
Good evening. I apologize. I actually forgot my handout on the ARPA survey.
You want mine?
Yeah, unless you have, I can answer a lot of it right off the top of my head, but,
Actually, I have some notes in there, so
all right.
maybe you can answer my questions.
You got the I got the playbook. A few months back, we just wanted to give the council an overview of where we are with the ARPA funds that the city has received. Just for the general public, the ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act, was signed into law by the President Biden on March 11, 2021. City of Revere, as an entitlement community, is receiving funds directly from the U.S. Treasury, and those funds will equal upwards of $30 million. 19.7 is direct municipal aid to the City of Revere, and then 10.3 million comes through the counties, which were abolished, and so we get it directly from the federal government as well, so 10.3 million. So we've received $15 million of that allocation in August. We're still waiting for the second half of that, and we've basically set up a procedure that we have forms that we collect for ARPA requests from departments, and we have a 3-person committee that's made up of myself, the chief of staff to the mayor, and the director, the chief of planning and community development. And we vet through the requests, and we prioritize them. We ask a lot of questions, and then we queue them up for approval from the mayor. So a lot of that stuff is actively going on right now. But some of the things that we have done is we've, most of you may know that if you're a homeowner in the city, we're giving a $250 rebate to everybody to help with some of the costs of the pandemic, basically household costs, et cetera. So that was $2.5 million. We did do a vaccination bonus for all city employees. That came out of the ARPA funds. And then, like I said, basically most of the spending that's coming out now are through requests. We're opening a health and wellness center. We're going to use ARPA funds to open that health and wellness center at the former 321 Charger Street. We are creating a travel and tourism department, which will help hopefully bring tourists to the city and have them spending their dollars in our restaurants and our hotels and such. And again, some of the other requests are in abeyance right now. As we go through the budget, we may need to use some of this ARPA money to offset some costs of the operating budget, depending on how far we have to whittle it down. But I don't want to take up too much time. I'm happy to answer any questions with regard to the money and how it's being used. And I'm sorry I wasn't prepared to do a total presentation, but like I said, happy to answer any questions.
I'm going to call on Councilor Keefe first, then Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To you, through you to Mr. Viskey. Certainly, I appreciate offsetting, using some of this for infrastructure and hoping to offset some of the general fund costs, such as the water and sewer infrastructure, and hopefully keep chipping away at that consent decree work that we need to do. One of the budgetary items you had is the $5.3 million in the health emergency response. And I was just curious, I know that obviously when this was done, we were really certainly in the middle of heavy surges, and I think that there was still a lot of things like contact tracing that was going through that, believe it or not, is actually now no longer really necessary. And I'm not saying completely unnecessary in certain areas, but signage, we certainly have reduced the amount of testing that is needed, especially with the amount of single-use tests that we picked up. I think there's an abundance of those. I was curious just on that line item alone, the $5.3 million there. Is there going to be some realized non-use that could be transferred or used into better areas?
Yeah, basically what we did is we treated it just like any other grant. We've come to the council, got the grant accepted, so we said, okay, $30 million, let's break out the eligible uses, and we categorized them. And we didn't have much to go on because we don't know where the spending would take place, but we wanted to try to have some logic and put that money in particular categories. So we left $5.3 million as contingency because, again, if there's another spike or another surge, that money might have to go to the fight against the virus, or if we maintain and we don't need a lot of testing, perhaps more can go towards infrastructure or the like. But, we plan on trying to use it as best as possible. I mean, we are very diligent about trying to make sure that any plans for this money, other than some of the economic relief that's been given out, but we want to try to make some long-term sustainable programs. We don't want to just spend and have nothing to show for it. So things like infrastructure, things like travel and tourism, things like a health and wellness center, we think those things will perpetuate, long after this money goes away. So we're really trying to keep an eye on those types of programs, Councilor.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What about a homeless shelter or something to that effect? We're hiring I believe psychiatric nurse practitioners, social workers, and so forth. We have a doctor that specializes in substance abuse disorder, which is primarily one of the issues that homelessness is begetting. So where are we on that?
Yeah, we definitely have a homeless shelter and warming center before us as far as funding it through the ARPA plan.
Warming center or facility? There's a difference because a warming center is...
The warming center is more of a short term to, be prepared for the next winter. But long term, like I said, all of these programs, we got to eye towards long-term solutions. So I don't have a great long-term solution yet, but we're starting to try to gather the information. So, one of the conversations is whether we want to be regionally a program, or do we want to handle it in Revere? And there's some debate whether the pros and cons of both.
Regional concept, because obviously the issue of homelessness is transient between Revere, Chelsea, Everett.
Yeah,
so forth.
so we definitely have more discussion and proposals coming, but homelessness is definitely one of the factors we're addressing through this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other councilors? Hearing, seeing none. Thank you for that explanation. I had some questions there, but if I have any further questions, I'll send them to you
Yeah,
directly.
any other councils can always email me or get in touch with me, and
Right.
happy to go through any of this stuff. And like I said, we got a lot more detail. Sometimes I try to keep it brief for everybody's benefit, but happy to answer any questions.
No problem. Do we have time to move to calendar item number 3, or you want to lay that on the table for now? Yeah, we have 2 motions by Councilor Rotundo. We have a couple of minutes. Can we, would you mind reading calendar item number 3?
Motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the mayor be requested to investigate the feasibility of installing GPS in all city vehicles with the exemption of emergency workers and department heads. As a cost alternative, this could be done with half the fleet.
Councilor Rotundo.
Basically, I believe that it would create efficiencies and ensure, God forbid, that vehicle was ever to the side of the road because of one of our employees was injured, had a heart attack, we'd at least know where they are. And it's a very nominal cost.
If I may, we are in the process of implementing GPS in all of our plated vehicles right now, including equipment, generators and such that's dragged around. So we did just install, I believe, 5 in our trucks to demo it, see if we like it.
I just want to make sure they have yours.
I don't have a city vehicle. But we are in the process of getting GPS on that, and that's, a lot of people think it's to track the person, but really it's inventory control and making sure we know where our vehicles are. So we are in the process of doing that. Yes, you're welcome.
So then, as far as this motion goes, that is in process now, basically?
It's in process right now. I think 2 weekends ago, we
Lay it
just,
on the table and.
you may see it as part of the budget as an additional cost.
So we can, Madam Clerk, what would you suggest? Lay it on the table?
You want to remain in committee?
Yeah, let it
We'll remain,
stay in committee.
we'll remain, if you want it to remain in committee,
Because obviously
or we can
he's-
place on file, whichever you prefer.
Yeah, let's place it on file, thank you.
We'll place on file. Okay, and final item, calendar item number 4, Madam Clerk.
Motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the mayor be requested to provide an accounting to the city council of all city-owned phones and who the phones are assigned to, except for police and fire investigators.
Councilor Rotundo.
Speaks for itself, I'd just like to have an accountability of the phones, that's all. Thank you.
Just an update on that. We are gathering all that information. We are actually going to centralize where we budget that in the IT budget. So we're actually culling all the plans together, and we're going to do a little analysis of what people are paying and try to bring those costs down to as
Thank you.
small as possible.
Let's place that on file, too.
Motion to place on file. All in favor, all opposed? No further business unless any councilors have any comments, questions. This will conclude our April 25th meeting of the Ways and Means Subcommittee. Thank you all for being here.